With that, Hannah, thank you very much for hanging out with us today on the value of values. For those of us who don't know Hannah, and my daughter's name is Hannah, so this conversation is very special to me. Can you tell us a little bit about who Hannah is?
Absolutely. But quick thought, is your daughter, is it Hannah with the H in the end? Because that makes a big difference.
She's a Hannah at the H at the end, and actually she's studying overseas. So this year, so I sort of miss her bunches, but that's a whole other story. I won't get into.
Well, anyways.
Yeah.
About me. Yeah, I am so excited to be here with you. I love talking about values. And I love coaching people on values. So my background is in coaching education. I think I was coaching before I knew I was coaching. And then when I found coaching, I was like, this is what I've been looking for.
Sounds familiar.
It sounds familiar. I think a lot of people are like, they just experience this profound impact in coaching and then can't wait to give the gift to other people. So definitely true for me. And right now, a lot of my time is split between coaching and coach training, mentoring coaches. And I love just the other time I get to speak with my kids and parenting. And so I usually say parenting and coaching are the biggest mirrors of my life. So that really helped me see myself and really helped me see my values. So I'm sure those different things are going to come up quite a bit in our conversation. But that's a little bit about me. I live in Nashville, grew up in the Pacific Northwest.
Oh, cool.
Fun fact, I was actually homeschooled. So people often think it's funny that, oh, aren't you supposed to be shy and weird? I'm like, I'm a little weird, but yes, I talk for a living. I have conversations for a living. Yeah, grew up in a big family, Pacific Northwest, and now currently live in Nashville with my 2 boys and my husband.
Very cool. Thank you for that. So how long have you been doing coaching training?
Yeah, so I started coaching over a decade ago, and it was 2016 that I've been working in coaching education. So as a trainer and mentor with Coach Training EDU, or referred to as CTEDU, based out of Portland.
Very cool. And I guess sort of kick off the values discussion. And as a coach, this is why I love talking to coaches, because I think there's a lot of insight here. When did you first have the understanding or sort of the realization of what core values were?
It's a great question. I think that for me, it was being disappointed and realizing what I didn't get in a moment. So I didn't quite have the name for core values till I was much older. But now that I realize, I see so many threads looking back of just like, for example, I was disappointed, like, well, why? Oh, I wasn't getting to experience this. Or why was this such a struggle for me or so hard for me? Oh, it's because it wasn't aligned with what matters most to me. So I'd say there's been a lot of reflection over the years, like seeing things. I feel like I've always been very much driven by core values. One example, for example, I really love and value other people and making other people happy. So like, I remember being like 7. My sister was older and wanted what I had, and I was like, I want you to have what I have because I want you to be happy. And it's just things like that where I've always been that way. So I think I've always been very like values driven. I didn't have names for values or like, oh, things really click until much older. But I definitely see so many threads and like where I was driven by core values, even if I couldn't name them.
So was there a sort of an awareness that happened around core values later, or do you know when that awareness sort of got you?
When did it get me? I think of one particular moment. I definitely ooh, that's such a good question, because I think it's all like the accumulation of moments that lead to the awareness that kind of creeps up on you. But
I love it when I could see the wheels turning. So that's that's a good one.
So the moment that's coming to mind, I kind of loop like well-being and authenticity together in one value, because it's like well-being is a result of getting to be your authentic true self. And I remember a moment where, oh, this is a confession a little bit. I didn't act in line with my core values, and I realized why afterwards. So I have an older sister, 2 years apart, and my childhood best friend and her were also really good friends. And there was one time that I called her and pretended to be my sister and got her to admit that she didn't really like me.
Oh.
And I still feel icky about that to this day. So I mean, that's where I realized, like, it's so important to be yourself and honor other people. It just, yeah, it was really, I mean, so I think that's, to me, was realizing, wow, like I almost lost a friend because of this. So I think that's when I was like, wow, that's not what I want to be aligned to. That's not the kind of person I want to be. So there's been a lot of moments, but that's the moment that it took me back to.
Thank you for sharing that. That's a heavy moment.
Yeah, I feel it in my gut right now.
Yeah, I can hear it. I can hear it in you.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
the interesting. Sorry, go
Yeah.
ahead.
I was gonna say, but I'm thankful for, like, be able to look back in those moments and, like, wow, I've grown a lot. But also, like, I don't think I'd have as much appreciation and clarity. And that friend and I are still really close to this day. So it's
Oh, that's good.
the value of forgiveness and second chances and giving grace all comes in too. So
I think it's times like that where it's sort of the realization of what those moments mean to us. And I think you're right. A lot of people, and I for sure probably in the same boat as you. I didn't know what to call those things. I just knew that they were feelings, and I ended up more so dealing with the byproduct of those feelings without understanding what those feelings were, or putting name to them and putting names to
yeah,
those things and understanding what they truly are.
yeah,
And sort of my thesis is that, like, a lot of people are going through that and they just don't have the education to know, what that is. So that's I think that's my journey with some of this stuff. So thank you for sharing that, because I think that means a lot. And I've been hearing that, it's a similar type of story, which is interesting.
that's really interesting. Yeah, I think there's a pattern, like if we regret something, it's because we didn't honor a core value in that moment.
Yeah, there's a lot of time, and I speak to this sometimes, and I'm sure you do as well, based on, and this is great because I think the experience that you bring to this is really interesting, and you may be validating some of the things that I'm thinking about. But usually when people tend to have conflict, or there's something that's rubbing the wrong way, they deal with the byproduct without a realization that it's probably some
Mhm.
type of core value that maybe they're in friction with, that they're not like consciously realizing.
Yeah.
So, and that comes up a lot in coaching. And I say it's like the toothpaste, comes out of the tube. Once you see that, it just does not go back in. And then there's like the light bulb that happens.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It really, really does. And I think it's such an advantage to be a coach or have experience coaching, because then in the moment, okay, what am I needing? What's behind this? What's going on here?
Yeah.
What value is kind of behind this? I think um I love that more and more people are having that awareness around core values, and not just naming it, but like, what are you actually wanting to experience or get experience you're going to give to others? I think there's so much there to explore, that once we have awareness, there's
Yeah.
something about naming things that we can, like, hold on to. Because you're exactly right. I think there's so many people that have moments they're like, I can't quite pinpoint why.
Yeah.
Um,
And the interesting thing that I also been hearing about from talking to folks is, and maybe this is like a silver line that's happened from, the pandemic and the issues that we've had, is that there's more of a questioning of a lot of these things, and people are starting to discover it. I had a conversation with another coach, actually. I think we even captured it on a podcast, where she was saying that there's a lot of folks that are entering the workforce now that are actually starting to ask these questions that have
mhm.
never been asked before. And it turns out that they're questioning not necessarily just their values, but how they're living them and how they share them with others. And what does that mean to them when they enter potential employment opportunities? So it's really, really interesting to see what's happening. And I think part of that catalyst has been, the pandemic. So
Yeah, so many people slowed down and realized, well, who do I really want to be? What kind of life do I really want? Like, and I think there's so many people that woke up. I had so many people that came to me for like well-being coaching. Like, wait, I haven't been me. I'm not happy. I'm not okay. Wow. Like just by slowing down, and taking the time to see that. So it is an exciting time. I think there's so many more people that are, realizing, wow, my values have been driving anyways. Like, what happens when I let them and I'm more aligned to them rather than, for example, like what should be my value,
oh, that's an interesting one too, right? Because it's usually when you ask people about their core values, they come up with these lists, and it's the usual ones, the integrity, honesty, and stuff like that. And that's all great. But I find that sometimes when you let them dig, and sometimes that original list or what they thought were their core values don't necessarily tend to manifest that way. So I think the journey is the consciousness is important, but I think also the journey is important too.
I have had clients that have had full sessions just on one value and realizing, oh, I didn't even realize this is what it was all about until
Really?
Yeah, just one value.
That's cool.
It's really cool. And I've had people, for example, like do the list of values and they're like realizing, oh wait, those aren't even mine anymore. Yeah. Or that's not even my value. That's a should. And so there's so much to explore around values.
Yeah.
And I was so excited about this conversation because it's
talk
about it all day.
Yeah, I know. Well, I'm sort of curious about because one of the other things that people talk about is that your values are what your values are. They stay with you, sort of like a personality type thing. And I don't know. I can't find the research to say if that's 100% true, because I've had conversations where people say, you know what, my values seem to shift over time and over my life experience. So I don't know how true that is. What are your thoughts? Do you think that they're static, or do you think they're flexible, or is it a hybrid? Or
yeah, I have two thoughts on that. I'll do the first one. This first one first is that I think oftentimes our values don't change, but what we can experience from them changes. So, for example, I very much value quality time, which I actually name intentional connection is what the value, because that's what I want to experience. When I had kids or I got married, moved like that just looks a lot different. So the experience looks different, but what I deeply need and want in my life hasn't changed, but the experience of it has. What I can expect from it has. Different situations, it might look a little different. But it's something I look for in all situations. The reason I bring up intentional connection is the second thought is that I think we all have an umbrella value. So it's this idea that we have.
Yeah, what's an umbrella value? Tell me.
This is the Hannah term, but like we have a value that helps us honor the other values. So for me, it's intentional connection, like being intentional, connecting with myself and what matters most, connecting with others is key to everything else that I care about and want to honor in my life. So when you get clear in your umbrella value, oftentimes that's the one unchanging, but then some of the other things are more of a priority at other times of life. So that's my philosophy.
Oh, that's cool. Have you ever seen, or have you ever experienced sort of conflicting values?
Yeah. So I really love coaching around either competing or conflicting values, or sometimes it's referred to as voice dialogue. It's where you take two things and like two values and help them. Well, how do they work together? So I actually had a very personal experience. I had two values and I personified them as two trees, and they're kind of leaning away from each other. And this idea of like, how can they grow together? And just that imagery has stuck with me, is like, how can I have both of these parts of me, or both these values, if I was to personify them, they both want to work together?
Mhm.
What could that look like? I love also the metaphor of like a band. Like you might be different instruments, but how can you like be singing the same tune or complement each other? And I really love that imagery for people. It's like, yeah, you have different values, but how can they work together? What's the song you want them to sing overall?
Yeah.
There's a little bit of an umbrella value, right?
Well, I find that sometimes even my values will conflict. So, for example, no surprise, being a coach, a lot of times we love to be of service of others, right? We really love the giving aspect, and
Mm-hmm.
for me, that comes up quite a bit. But there's also another value that I've realized over my life, especially given that my sort of dad was like an entrepreneur before there was this entrepreneur thing. He came from Europe and things of that nature. So I've always had that sort of business side or the entrepreneurial side. So, and I find sometimes it's very tough to be of service when I'm trying to retain like freedom as it relates to like financial stability,
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that. So like there's this constant sort of struggle. It's like I love doing this and I love like I don't want to charge sometimes I don't want to charge clients for like doing this thing because how important it is. But it's like,
Yeah.
wait a minute, I'm running a business here, but you know how great this is, and you don't want to not help somebody because of you associate a dollar with it. So I find those sort of conflict a bit with me.
Yeah. I know for me, I was like, I don't want coaching to ever be anything about relationship. I don't want it to be transactional.
Yeah.
The reality is you have to make money. Like, I mean, that is a reality. But I know for me, my thought was, how can I do other things while I'm building up my coaching practice the way that aligns with my values, putting the person first, putting it relationship first, serving versus selling.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah.
And what happened was just I did other things that actually built up my coaching business. So like my background was running a Jamba Juice, and yeah, I know
Cool.
all the recipes by heart. And I still make smoothies in my sleep.
That's for another podcast episode.
There we go. Yeah, lots of value conversations in there, but it was from. Well, I had a near death experience actually, and so in a 2-month span, I was like, I'm gonna quit Jamba Juice and move to South Korea and teach because I want to do more. I want to serve people. I'm sick of selling. I mean, I love the people aspect of Jamba Juice, but there was like a make more money or else kind of a thing, and I was like, it's not right for me. So I actually got a job in South Korea. Got a car accident where I couldn't leave.
Wow.
That wasn't the near-death experience, though. That just totaled my car and neck and back injuries. But I was like, okay, I'm here. And so within that 2-month time frame, from March 2013 to May 2013, I didn't move, obviously, stayed at Jamba Juice, but was like, I wanted to do more. And then I actually met my husband the end of that month, and it was just a whirlwind, and I believe God had a hand in it. And then in May, I actually had this terrible stomach pain and had to have emergency surgery. They're like, if you don't have surgery right now, you're gonna die. It was not a prior condition.
Wait, is this a third incident? There's a life changing or a life potential.
That's the near death one. So the
Oh,
car accident, yeah, there was a lot of stuff.
Okay.
Like I guess, well, my husband would like to know that meeting him was life changing. There we go. But met him, and then he's actually the one who was like, I was too stubborn to go to the hospital. He's like, you need to go. Took me there, and they're like, you're gonna die if you don't have surgery right now.
Wow.
And I'm like, whoa, if I had been like, I'm going to move to South Korea anyways, I wouldn't still be here. So that really was like, I'm not going to wait anymore on like waiting for things to just align for coaching. I'm going to make it work. So I had actually been trying to get into this academic coaching program since I experienced it, because I was a college student working full-time who actually hired a coach. And that was how I got introduced to it.
Another similar story to most.
Yeah, and just fell in love with it. Like, why I need to do this? But I couldn't. Job opportunities with them were really tight, and so I've been trying actually to get in for years. So that's why I was like, oh, I'll move to South Korea and teach English, and I mean, who knows what that'll lead to. I was literally covered in cracker crumbs, couldn't even sit up because it was an abdominal surgery. I got my first opportunity to work with them.
Wow.
And I mean, it still works very similarly. Like, it's about relationship. Like, they only would like let you start with like 1 or 2 clients, and then everything else you have to almost get like referred more clients. And so it was just the door open, and I was like, I'm going through it. And so I recovered, went back to John Booth, but then I quit that fall to work in a school because I'm like, that would be aligned up, like learning, growth, development. You know, it was just so humbling. I was working in special needs, and I was like, wow, I've taken for granted how easy it is to learn, and just the power of just little things. So it was just such a shaping time for me. But I was able to build up my coaching in that time, like in set hours, having something that was complementing it and helping me be a better, I believe a better person while I was building up my coaching, and it was complementing each other. So that's the thought, is like, whatever's competing, how can you help it complement?
Wow.
And so then I transitioned, actually working into preschool after that school year. And after that, I build up my coaching full time. So then I married my husband in 2014. So we met and married the next year. And then from 2014 on, I was full-time coaching. And I started mentoring and training in 2016. So, but that's just, I truly believe that the things that are in conflict, we can find a way to make them complement, like in service of each other. I think it's just so important to have that larger vision, like that clear thing we want to honor above everything else. And it's like, for me, it was like, wow, life is short. I'm still here for a reason, and it is to coach. And I still feel that way to this day. And so I'm like, I'm going to make it work. I'm going to figure out a way to do it the way that matters most to me, though, because it's not going to be the same thing if I turn it into transactional. So that was my journey.
Wow, that's when you say matters most to me, does that bring you back to those core values? Because you hear people say that a lot, and I'm curious, what does that really mean?
It matters most to me.
Yeah, you just said that, and you sort of lit up when you said that.
Yeah, it allows me to intentionally connect, and yeah, definitely other values too. So for me, when I think what matters most, I'm asking about people's, what are your values? That's just another way of asking about your values.
How do you think that consciousness shapes what you're doing today and what you think about what you want to do tomorrow?
Yeah. Well, when we're clear on our values and what matters most, like our next step is clear, and the step after that, and the step after that. And I think a lot of times people will either regret their decisions or are excited about their decisions. The decisions are easy. When you know what matters most to you and you're clear on your values, decisions are easy.
Yeah. That's powerful. That is really powerful. It's like almost, I just almost want to like sit with that for a second. Because sometimes I see people struggling with decisions.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like that guiding light. You know, if you go back to your values, I don't think you can ever be wrong.
Yeah.
And I see this with organizations a lot. And obviously you can go for days and days on business issues and how that relates. And I keep reminding folks, if you go back to your values, right? Either the organizational values or your own values, where usually you hope that there's some sort of values congruence. If you go back to those,
Yeah.
they will guide you and you can't be wrong. And if somebody presents you something otherwise, then ask them, why is it that, what is that conflict? What is the issue? Because if you keep going back, it's always going to serve you. So
Exactly. And a lot of times people are looking, I think, for like work-life balance. Let's look at work issues a little bit, when really they should just be looking for value alignment, right? Like, how does this work allow me to honor my core values? And if you look for that, it's going to feel like, for example, like my intentional connection value started with me digging in, like, why am I so bothered by my husband looking at his phone when he's talking to me? Right, finding out what I really want to experience. But like following that and then seeing like, okay, how can I honor this in this situation or with this person or with this? Like, for example, I rescheduled on you because I wanted to be able to honor my values and really intentionally connect and not be focused on something else.
Do you
Um,
think, does he know, is he like aware of what you call your core values?
that's another side. I think that it's so important for people to know their values, and not just the names, because you and I can both value family, but value totally different experiences. But when you are clear on your values, then you can get better at communicating with other people, and then you're going to have better relationships. Then you can also ask them questions to help figure out what are their values, right? Because he's like, well, I'm sitting here with you. Like, of course we're having quality time. I'm like, no, I want eye contact. I want phone down, these different things. But we have such different perspectives. And we can't talk about values and not talk about perspectives, because perspectives, they're always interacting. Like, values are things we add to our life that we're kind of outside in.
Mm.
Perspectives are inside out, but they're always interacting. And I think that's what we need to be aware of, is what is my perspective?
Do you have perspective of his core values? Nice.
Yeah. It's an ongoing conversation, because like, I think too, adding children into the mix, like, sometimes you're not going to get to honor everything. We've he values quality time or different, like, things that look a little different than me. And then our kids, I think, are also shaping what matters most to them, their core values. I think that there's just so much to consider on that, and that's why it's helpful to, like, I think, honor, like, know your core value, like, not your core value, your like umbrella value, and know that, like, what do you need above all else? Because the reality is, like, sometimes, like, okay, I'm not gonna get the quiet time in the sunlight, like I'm sunlight reading a book like I'm craving. Like, it's not gonna happen. So there's an amount of sacrifice with values. Like, what am I willing to sacrifice? What matters most? I mean, there's just so much to go in there. But as much as I've expected him to understand my values, I've taken the time to more so understand his. And then, okay, how do we both get what we need? And how do we give our children what they need? And yeah, it just keeps us learning and growing.
Yeah, I don't, a friend of mine asked me the other day, and I didn't know how to respond, and I'm still struggling with it, but because we this is how crazy it is. We were at a bar sitting there talking about stuff, and values come up again. Surprise, surprise. And it was
you
just,
guys at the bar talking about values.
I don't know why this keeps coming up. But then he asked me, he says, hey, listen, do your kids know your values? And I was like, wow, that like really knocked me back, because I don't think that they could consciously say, yeah, my dad's value are this, this, and this. And then I sort of wonder, how that formulates who they are. So I think that's something, I'm going to explore. Although it's not an easy thing, especially not, like, my kids are a little bit older. Like, so I got a junior in high school. I got a freshman I'm sorry, I got a junior in high school who's actually studying abroad. And I got a freshman in college, and I got a junior in college. So it's sort of like that awkwardy, they're not teenagers. They're sort of like not fully adults. It's that in between, it's not the tween. It's like not full adult, but they are
in between.
They're there. So it's kind of like, it's not like I would say, hey, what's going on? How are you? Hey, let me tell you about my values. Right. So that'll be a journey, because I think that's important. I struggle with, why am I not doing it? But that's a whole different issue.
Yeah. Well, I think the other thought there too is you're communicating it with your life. Like, every action you take, the decisions that you make and don't make, those are a reflection of our values. So, for example, I don't think my kids could list my values, but they know, like, I apologize and I ask for redos when I don't get it right. They know what I do. They know.
Yeah, they can see it through the behaviors.
Yeah.
Maybe not necessarily nomenclature of what those behaviors are articulating, but I think, and this goes to where we were talking earlier about the consciousness. I wonder if I was fully aware of this sort of core values framework when I was younger, or I was able to sort of put words to it and really think about it, if that would have impacted a lot of other decisions and the way I lived my life.
Hmm.
And I wonder if having that conversation with them now could alter. Now I'm getting all Barbara Walters and choked up here about this stuff, but I wonder if that can alter how they view the lens of their life. It's kind of a
Hmm.
heavy question.
No, it affects their perspective and how they see the world, themselves,
Yeah.
everything in it. So again, values, perspectives. So this is on my list, and I don't know if we'll get to it this week, but I, how businesses have core values. I have it on my list. I forget who inspired me, but shout out to someone who did this with their family. They did like a big, like giant post-it note or whiteboard, and we're like, what are our family values
Oh, that's
with
cool.
their kids? And I'm like, that's a really cool perspective, because like the thing is, like, we are like a unit. So what are we going to say matters most to us as a family? What are the experiences? Maybe they can't, I know my kids are much younger, but like start having a conversation like, well, what matters most to you, me, and what do we all need? What do we want to stand for as a family? What do we want to honor as a family?
It's like a vision board for values.
Ooh.
That's pretty funny. I might have to steal that from you and try that with my own family.
Well, I stole it for someone else. So we'll pass it along. But that is something I want to do, because we have personal value, core values. Oftentimes when we have a business, we might be thinking like, what does my business stand for? What are the core values?
Yeah.
But I think as a family, that's such an opportunity to just even talk about what matters
Yeah, I
most.
like that. I think especially now the time of year we're in, I think that's a great thing to do.
Well, if you have like a hosted workshop, values vision board sounds like a
Ah,
good workshop. Let's
and we just came up with a new workshop.
hey, maybe we can host it together. There we go. Totally do that. I think it'd be fun.
That would be cool. I want to shift gears a little bit and just I want to ask you this. I'm curious. Who were either your heroes or people that inspired you, even like now? Who were some of those people in your life?
Yeah. I said earlier in our conversation, the two things that have really shaped me are parenting, coaching. The other thing has been grief. So I have had two losses, and I feel like part of my perspective has been like, now they're my inner coaches a little bit, like, and so that inspires me. So one is there's a whole other story there, but basically my dad was in prison, and for most of my childhood. And so one of his best friends, we called him Uncle Stan, basically helped raise me, taught me how to ride a bike, how to rollerblade, how to eat way too many Fig Newtons, the perfect amount of time to pop popcorn for, like taught me math, like basically was my dad in many ways. But something that I ask myself constantly, and I feel like it was from him, was he was actually in the hospital. He found out he had cancer. I forget what year was this, 2011? No, it was maybe 2015. Feels like a blink. It feels like yesterday, and I mean, this is how it is. But he was just, don't ever stop being Hannah. And this is someone like who really, really knew me, and so that constantly inspires me. Of like, is this aligned to me? Like, and that, I mean, right up the alley of core values, right? So
Yeah.
don't ever stop being Hannah. And then it'll be 3 years ago, January, I lost my big brother.
Oh,
And very sudden, I mean, unexpected, but the question that I sit with from him was, am I really living? So with those, like, just like, wow, am I really being me, and am I really living? And that makes a lot of things clear for me day by day. So I mean, I have, of course, like authors and other people that I admire, but those are people that really shaped me. So
cool. Thank you for sharing that.
yeah.
As people are, maybe listening to this, what would be like one or two key takeaways that you would want them to carry with them as it relates to sort of core values and how that impacts them.
Yeah, I would invite you to explore, what is your umbrella value? What is the value that helps you honor the other values? Which one is key to the rest? Like, think about, if there's 10 doors, what's the first door that helps you open all the other doors? And the other takeaway I just invite you to think about is, wherever you feel values in conflict or competing against each other, how can they complement each other? How can they work together? And then lastly, like, look for alignment. How can you look for alignment in your life? Because oftentimes where we don't feel aligned is because either we're not clear on a value, or we just can't honor that value. And that's such powerful awareness to see, wow, okay, I'm doing this because I get to honor this and this and this. So those are the three things I'd recommend for people. And have just I guess a bonus one is, it's never too early or late to talk to your family about your values.
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna file away. Before I let you go today, and thank you very much for the time and all your insights, I really appreciate it. If people wanted to reach out to you and maybe get your advice, maybe talk to you about coaching, or just somehow connect and touch base, what would be the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, come connect with me on LinkedIn. I do have some links on there where you can get like free coaching questions, and I'm actually going to be releasing a Power of Pause mini course. I'm going to record the audio on. I actually did that for my email list a while ago because I value pause, no surprise. But LinkedIn's going to be the best place. Love to connect with you there, and yeah, feel free to message. I mean, that's where we started.
Yes. And I want to say your posts are amazing, and you just started the videos. Keep going with those, because those are cool and inspiring. So I definitely love checking them out, and I always support whenever I see you. Whenever you come on my feed, I'm like, yes. And I try to comment. So it's all good stuff, all great stuff. I think people can get insights from.
Oh, thank you. Well, the feeling's mutual. I'm more like, yeah, you get me. We have some value alignment going on.
There you go. Exactly. Well, listen, thank you very much for the time. I really appreciate it. And, let's touch base again. I'm sure we got more to talk about.
Yeah, we got to talk about that workshop.
Yeah, that's right. Coming soon. Thanks, Hannah.
Cool. Thank you.